All right. Good morning, everybody. Did you like that new intro? What do you think, Zona?
It's awesome. Shout out John. Very well
Yep,
done.
John Boyda, Darth Boyda. And if you see him in the chat, John Boyda, he runs the Suns Jam Session podcast. And he also writes for Bright Side of the Sun with Brandon and I. And that was pretty freaking cool. That's all the solar panel logos that we've had in the past. And this is really fun. It was a really great intro. Um, all right. So this is Dave King. Good morning. And welcome to another edition of the Solar Panel. Thank you for coming by. The Solar Panel, it's always free, always fresh, and it's always presented by the Basketball Podcast Network. We've got this live interactive show every Saturday on YouTube, plus extra episodes during the week. And what Zona and I were just talking about is that we're going to do a live preview show, season preview show on Monday or Tuesday night. And we're going to do a combo show. We're going to bring in either or both the Suns Jam Session guys and hopefully the Fanning guys as well. And maybe we'll just do a big old get together on a live YouTube show on Monday or Tuesday, depending on whether the Mercury are playing Game 5 on Tuesday or not. And so watch out for that. This morning, we got a huge show for you guys. Brandon, Zona and I are going to talk through a couple of things, have our first couple of segments, and then we're going to bring on a really good, really popular YouTube guy, Evin Gualberto, and he is going to take us through what he's seen with the Suns, what new things that the Suns, or new wrinkles that the Suns are doing with Mikal this year that's been really interesting. And we're just gonna have a good time with Evin here in a little bit. But first, I'm gonna do a quick warm up, pregame warm up before our 4 quarters of fun, and catch you up on what happened this week. So all we've seen this week is that the Suns played a couple of preseason games, completely dominated. They blew out the Blazers on Wednesday before Game 2 of the WNBA Finals. And before that, they blew out the Lakers. So the Suns finished 3-1. They didn't play any of those games with both Chris Paul and Devin Booker in the lineup. The first time those two will play together will be in the season opener this coming Wednesday night. So stay tuned. Season opener Wednesday night. Again, we're going to have our season preview show one of the evenings, Monday or Tuesday evening this coming week. For today, we are going to go through 4 quarters of fun, and our first quarter, Zona is going to run. We are going to have a little bit of a debate.
Yep. So this is a great question, I think, and great debate to bring up, especially because now that they're not a terrible team anymore, it's a lot less dramatic to talk about, I think. So the question is, are the Suns good or bad at drafting? And I think there's a lot of intricacies that go into this, especially looking at the past decade. I mean, previously to this playoff run, they had picked in the lottery for 10 straight years. So to me, that alone answers they're bad at drafting if you're going 10 straight years. But then you look at this recent history, and it's kind of like they flipped a switch. All their core pieces are homegrown outside of Chris Paul. So, it's a pretty interesting debate. But fasten your seatbelts here for this, because you might get some PTSD when I read this list. But here's a list of all their lottery picks in the past 10 years. Markieff Morris, Kendall Marshall, Alex Len, TJ Warren, Devin Booker, who fell into their lap, Dragon Bender, and Marquise Chris. And it goes without saying that the Bogdan trade also has to be mentioned. And then you go up to Josh Jackson. And then from this point on, it gets a little bit better with DeAndre and Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Jalen Smith.
Yeah, so what do you say? You're just listing off names of failed picks and trying to say that that's the reason they're bad at drafting? That's all you're doing?
No, I think I'm lobbing it over to you.
Giving you a hard time. All these failed picks, I get it. I totally get it. All these failed picks, the Suns could have done better at almost every one of those picks. Totally get it. However, my part of this debate is to talk about it from a different perspective. What is the point of being an NBA basketball team and competing for wins? What's the point? The point is to win a championship. The point is to get to the finals. The point is to win your conference. And if you can do that with your own draft picks, That is huge. That's huge. What did the Suns do? They actually made the conference. They won the Western Conference and made the NBA Finals with 4 of their top 6 players having been drafted by the team. How many other championship winners can say that? The Lakers in 2020? Nope. The Bucks in 2021? Nope. Chris Middleton was traded to them, and Drew Holiday was traded to them. So you've got only Giannis as a homegrown guy on that team. You can keep going back. 2019, the Raptors, they acquired Kyle Lowry. They acquired every one of their guys, say Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, but they acquired Kawhi Leonard, who's the one who put him over the top. So my argument of, if you're a good drafting team, is did you put together the core of a championship contender? And I don't think they're bad at drafting if they can put together a core of a championship contender. Yes, it took them 10 years to do that. Yes, they took Kendall Marshall 1 year. Yes, they took Jalen Smith, who can't even crack the rotation. I get it. There's bad picks out there. But man, that would be if you can put together a core of a championship team with your draft picks, that has to say you're good at drafting.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And I think it depends what you're looking at specifically. If you're looking at the past decade, I think it leans towards on the bad side. But if you look at these past 5-6 years, you could definitely make a case that they're good at drafting. And I think a lot of that starts with their player development and bringing a guy like Monty Williams in to kind of get the most out of them. Especially when you're comparing how Ryan McDonough drafts versus James Jones. McDonough would take these huge swings with raw players that they basically had no system to develop them in. So I think that's another reason why you saw all these busts early on. But now with Jones coming in and kind of taking the reins, I think you're starting to see them actualize their potential in a system where they can succeed. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. It's sort of especially the past 10 years, I compare it to going to a casino and just playing slot machines and losing hundreds of dollars. And then all of a sudden you win a jackpot and you just come out neutral. So I don't know. To me, it was a waste of 10 years pretty much. But a lot of luck was also in their favor with Devin Booker falling to them. If that doesn't happen, are we going to talk about them being good at drafting? I don't think so. That was just kind of gifted to McDonough. So yeah, I think in recent years, though, for sure, it's taken a turn for the better. Right now, I'd say ultimately, at best, they're neutral, with them kind of being on the upswing right now.
Yeah, I realize I'm making an argument I'm not supposed to win. Definitely, because the Suns really have been bad at drafting for years. I mean, God, they took in 2016 and 2017 alone.
Yeah.
They took 3
their
guys
asset
in the top
management
8
too,
who are not even in. Now, asset management, look, man, I'll spend a whole hour debating asset management with you guys. Asset management, smash it, management. I mean, they got a championship team together. James Jones has been given shit for his asset management over the years. And yet James Jones is the dude who turned a 19-win team into a finals team in 2 years. Don't talk to me about asset management. Sorry, Brandon. This is more to the larger crowd than yourself.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about
bullshit
Jones.
About asset management
McDonough.
With James Jones. McDonough was collecting assets. McDonough was draft Twitter's dream, except he always picked the wrong guy. But McDonough was draft Twitter's dream in terms of get those picks, lock them, get them lined up, take as many guys as you can, and someone's going to work out. He did finally get lucky with Ayton and Bridges. To this day, I do not believe Mikal Bridges was a Brian McDonough draft pick. Brian McDonough has never taken a dude had in his drafting career had not taken a guy as old as Mikal Bridges in the draft. I don't think he wanted Mikal Bridges. I think he wanted Zaire Smith, in my opinion. No, actually, what they say he wanted was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which is totally fine, but he couldn't find a trade to get him. Dude, I want Giannis Antetokounmpo. Does that make me good? No, I can't get him, so it doesn't matter that I want him. So no, I think definitely James Jones is great at asset management. Whether you like individual transactions or not, I definitely think that James Jones is a guy who's really great at asset management. However, Ryan McDonough, he was an asset collector, but he was terrible at asset management, to your point.
Yeah. He always promised us this big dream that would come through. And, they're in perfect position with all the picks in the world, cap space, like just waiting for the next disgruntled star, like all that, BS that just never happened. So that's more the point I was getting at, where it seemed like this team just had like endless assets and nothing really came from it. Jones obviously knows how to construct a roster, and Mike McDonough, that's a huge difference to me. And he knows how to not piss his players off too, which is important. So yeah, I think a lot of this narrative and like backlash of drafting is more definitely from the McDonough era, whereas now it's kind of like, yes, Jones inherited some of those key pieces, but he also put a culture in place for them to succeed, a roster to bring out the best of them, and assets be damned. He didn't really care. He just wanted to build a winner, and for him, like for me, looking at what he does every offseason, you can't just look at it move by move. You have to look at the end result, and I think it always works out with him. So that's what I take away from that.
Absolutely. I thought Sunders Dunks put in here. Yes, the Suns did want Frank Kaminsky in that Booker draft. So
that's an alternate universe I do not want to live in.
But you know what? No, it wasn't. The Celtics were the ones who offered 6 picks or at least 4 picks to the Hornets for that, for the 9th pick, in which where the Hornets just said, nah, we're going to take Frank because we think he's the second coming. Even Frank didn't think he was the second coming. Yet the Hornets brushed off Danny Ainge's 6 or 4 picks to get that. Now, Ainge would not have taken Kaminsky, but he would have taken somebody else that wasn't worth those picks because he wasn't looking at Booker for sure. Booker did, I think, fall into the Suns' lap. I think Ryan McDonough didn't have a better choice in terms of if he could have taken Trey Lyles, Jones would have taken Trey Lyles. But Trey Lyles went 1 or 2 picks ahead. There's another guy. Miles Turner also would have come to the Suns, which is fine. Miles Turner's pretty good. Candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. But is he Devin Booker? No. So the Suns did kind of luck into Devin Booker. I think there were people on Brightside, I remember, huge debates. In fact, one of my buddies, old 7-footer, Sean Sullivan, I think it was him who was huge on Bobby Portis going 9th or going 13th that year ahead of Booker. And when Booker was taken, everyone was like, what? We already have guards. Oh my God, we're guard university, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'm pretty happy we didn't get Bobby Portis. I'm pretty happy we didn't get Frank. So, and I don't want to say Ryan McDonough was good at drafting. He was good at collecting assets. And like you say, Zona is he was good at rolling the dice, and he got lucky a couple of times. And and as the world turned out perfect, he got lucky, and then he got out before he could ruin it. So that was good. James Jones came in and actually built a team around those guys. And I still remember the spring of 2019, toward the end of Ayton and Bridges' rookie year, and they won 19 games. I remember people saying, you really can't build a core around DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. That can't be a core of a good team. Yeah, they're in the finals. So let's call in those receipts. All right, let's see. So Ryan McDonough, terrible at drafting, but he got lucky. James Jones, good at drafting. Let's talk about James Jones drafting. So when he first took over, he said that he was not going to take any more 19-year-olds. He was done with that. The Suns had 6 of them. And he's like, we're done with that. So he ended up getting Ricky Rubio that summer and using his draft pick on Cam Johnson, who was, everybody was Father Time and all that, joking about Cam Johnson being so old. And that turned out to be a pretty darn good pick. Cam Johnson is now probably the 6th or 7th or 8th best player from that draft, and he was taken 11th. And the guy that everybody on draft Twitter wanted, Jarrett Culver, is lucky to be in the league 3 years later. But then a year later, James Jones turns that on its head, and he takes a completely unproven Jalen Smith at 20 years old. And then he trades out this year. So what do you think of? Tell me what you think. You're a draft guy.
Yeah, he definitely has a type, and he doesn't give a damn about your draft board or mock drafts or anything like that. He'll just take what he thinks is going to help fit on the team. Cam Johnson worked out better than I think even the people that were high on him could have imagined, because I mean, he's doing stuff that he didn't even do at North Carolina. I liked him. I thought he was going to be a solid role player, but I never thought he'd have the upside flashes that he's already shown. So to me, I think that was like a home run pick, for especially given what this team needs. He just fits in so perfect. So that one worked out great. Jalen Smith is a different story. The jury's still out on him. He could still turn out to be a fine rotation piece. So don't want to like sit here and bash him, but just looking at Tyrese Halliburton or even Devin Vassell, there's better options. So I think at the end of the day, if you get one really good rotation piece out of 2 lottery picks, then you can call that a win in most cases, because I think people forget how, hit or miss the draft is. Not everyone you pick is going to be an automatic contributor, especially in their first contract. So for me, Cam Johnson being a hit is definitely a positive sign. But and then this last draft, trading out, I just think he doesn't really care about the draft, and for good reason, given some of their track record in the past. But he just cares about putting the best product on the floor. And Chris Paul is getting up there in age, so he knows doing like the moves on the margins to try to put them over the top is important. So,
yep. I keep trying to show the right comment, and then a new one pops in. Guys, come on! You guys are commenting too fast. So it's interesting. I don't know. I'm still unsure. Like, I like what Jalen Smith brings as far as a skill set, but he profiles more like a McD pick, right? I mean, can you imagine Jalen Smith being on the Suns in 2018?
oh Lord,
Wouldn't he look
30
a
minutes
lot?
a game? Yeah,
He'd be like Marquise Chris, right?
Yep.
We would like him better than Dragan Bender because Jalen Smith really pushes it, right? He's got aggression. He rebounds like crazy. Let me ask this question. Do you think Jalen Smith is better? Don't look at think about Marquise Chris in 2018 or 2017, not now, who's out of the league basically. I mean, he's a bench guy for Portland, but he didn't get in a 50-point blowout until the fourth quarter. Or Dragan Bender back when he was a rookie, and Jalen Smith right now. Who do you think is the best prospect of all those guys at their second year in the league?
That's a tough one. I think I'd probably lean Bender just because of the flashes that he had. But that's also because Jalen Smith hasn't played a lot, so I don't really have a lot to like base this off of. I think Smith has more of a chance of sticking. But Chris and Bender, they both had these flashes where everyone just, Bender Island, Chris Island, whatever, like people would hang on to it for years. And with Smith, I don't really see that. But it's also a completely different story because obviously he's not getting the minutes and not getting a chance to show that stuff. So, obviously I think the idea of Smith is great. Will he actually put it together and end up being a valuable contributor remains to be seen. But I think right now, you're looking at a solid change of pace, third big, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if he can reach that outcome, which is more than someone like Chris or Bender. But who knows if Chris or Bender had this system to develop in and got to learn from CP and get coached by Monty. So I think a lot of that plays into it as well. But yeah, right now it's, Smith hasn't proven enough to me to where he's clearly looking better than those two guys.
So let me ask you about the player development thing. 100%, there's no question that the Suns were bad at developing players. And really part of that was the way McDonough built the roster. He put way too many kids on there. So there just wasn't any role models. There wasn't any guys who could show you how to be professional. To this day, I am shocked that Devin Booker turned out so good because he was in such a bad situation as far as role models until he got Ricky Rubio as a guy who could show him how to be calmer and more all about the stuff that's not scoring. I don't know how he got so good. But Chris has been on 3 other teams since then. One of them being Golden State, with Draymond Green as his role model, with Steve Kerr as his coach, with a great player development staff that had built a 5-time finals, 5 in a row finals team that was the last team that built their team from the draft, basically with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, all those guys came from their draft. So why couldn't Chris make it there? Or is it if you ruined your first 2 years, you're just done? You can't recover.
Yeah, for some players, I think it's just picking up bad habits early in their career is not a good look. And also playing as many minutes as he did, it just kind of shatters your confidence if you're not playing well. So some players can come back from that if they get in the right system. Some can't. I'm not saying Chris would end up being this, great rotation player if he came up through this current Sun system. He might not, but I think there's a better chance if he's learning this stuff from day one and building himself up and keeping his confidence high and not playing like 30 plus minutes a night. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's just a game of like what if, pretty much. That's like what the draft is too. So yeah, I hope Smith can prove me wrong and he ends up being a solid rotation piece. He looked good in some moments in the preseason. So and they could definitely use his skill set.
No, I'm probably a victim of recency bias. We all are as fans. I was higher on Chris when he was first or second year than Bender. I liked how Chris was a little more aggressive. He was actually one of the youngest players ever to amass. I remember posting it on our site. One of the youngest players ever to amass 200. I think it was 100 each of threes, blocks, and steals. I'm pretty sure that was it. You're one of the youngest players ever to amass, and that is a rare skill set: threes, blocks, and steals. So
that's what you want out of Jalen Smith too, right?
That's what you want out of Jalen Smith. Exactly. Actually, for Jalen Smith, it would be more like 2,000 rebounds or 200 rebounds or whatever it is, some equivalent of youngest rebound counts plus blocks and threes. That's Jalen Smith's thing. Marquise Chris's problem is he didn't rebound very well, and he could never figure out an offensive game, which Jalen Smith is still struggling with. So I'm probably a victim of recency bias, but I like the profile, the skill set of Jalen Smith. I just wish he would stop looking like a baby giraffe out there. He just doesn't seem to have the certainty of his moves to be able to get to where he wants to. But sometimes he does. Sometimes he looks really good. I thought in the preseason, Jalen Smith looked really good with rotation players, real rotation players. And he looked worse with the bottom five when he was out there with the bottom five in fourth quarters of blowouts because he needs to be a supporting guy, not a lead guy. So, yeah, Sunders dunk. Poor man's JJJ. Actually, very poor man's JJJ. But Marquise Chris basically has that same kind of game where he can throw up threes, he can block, he can steal, but he doesn't rebound very well. He gets into a lot of fouls. Marquise Chris basically never developed after college. So anyway, I think I'm going to say that you're right that the Suns are bad at the draft thing, but James Jones is so good at building a team that he could have traded DeAndre Ayton. He could have traded some of these guys, but he made a core of DA and Mikal and Devin Booker that nobody really believed in on the 1963 team and built a team around them that got to the finals. So is he good at draft? He's good at knowing talent, James Jones. And I think he did pick out good skills with Jalen Smith, and he picked out a good guy in Cam Johnson. So I think they're now good at drafting, even though they don't care about the draft. They traded away their 2022 pick. They traded away their 2021 pick. My big worry now is, are they not going to have anybody on the rookie scale when they need to, when they have four guys making $25+ million?
Yeah, no, that's kind of my concern as well, especially with all these extensions coming in. So trading the 29th pick, there is risk, but obviously the chances of that hitting are, as we know, pretty slim. So
hey, I just got to say, Tristan Vandersant, the last thing you can do to get your question answered on the show is to post it spamming. Don't spam. We won't answer that question today. Okay, so let's move on to our next section, or the next segment. Thank you for that debate, Zona, and running that. This is just a quick section here. It's our second quarter of the show, and the second quarter is, what are the percent chance that each of these extensions gets done in the next 2 days? So just to recap, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, and Landry Shamet are both up for able to get extensions on their rookie deals through Monday evening. I think maybe it's even midnight. I'm not sure if they moved it to 6 p.m. or what, but it's through Monday evening. The Suns can extend these guys' rookie deals. Otherwise, these guys play out the season on their 4th year guaranteed rookie contract, making plenty of money, and they go into restricted free agency next summer. So let's start with the big one. DeAndre Ayton wants the max. And when I say that, he wants a good chance at getting the full 30%. We don't know where the 30% of the cap, like a lot of these other guys. Let me just talk about this for 1 second, because So Says Jay and I went back and forth a little bit yesterday, helpfully to me. The base 25% of the cap on 5 years, I don't think is in question. I think the Suns are offering that. I think that DeAndre Ayton's camp wants more than that. What's more is if you reach certain milestones, you can get to 27, 28, or 30% and it doesn't have to be any one thing that you reach, a milestone that you reach to get that 30% of the cap, which is a lot of the cap. But like Devin Booker, for example, 3 years ago, he signed his max extension. He could only get 30% if he won MVP that first year, that fourth year of his contract before the extension kicked in. And then he was at 27.5%, or in the 28.5, 27.5 range if he got all NBA. It could be that that's what they're offering Ayton. And Ayton's camp is saying, no, I want all 30 if I just make all NBA, which is much easier for a center because there's 3 centers named every year guaranteed. And MVP, of course, there's only ever one. So it could be that they're arguing over those incentives. I don't know. But what extent, what chance, what percent chance, God, I'm losing my voice. What percent chance do you think Ayton is going to get done by Monday night?
Flip a coin. I think it's 50-50 right now. I think they're both playing chicken, and I really hope it's because of the escalators like you're mentioning, and not the fact that they don't want to offer him a max, because, if that's the case, we have a real problem. And Sarver, I'll go on a Sarver rant if that's the case. But I'm hoping that right now it's just the fine print and the details that just need to be sorted out. So, yeah, I'd say right now it's probably 50-50. I'll say 51-49 just to be a little bit optimistic. But
51 which way?
Towards the
51
deal
he signs?
Yeah. So I hope it better get done. Look, we just talked about their drafting the past decade, and, we didn't suck for 10 years just for, this management to come in and blow it all up. So hopefully something gets done. If not, hopefully DA doesn't take it too personal, but it's hard not to.
Okay, so I want to post a comment here. Buckdog comments, we'll have to max DA eventually, or someone else will. This is true. However, another team cannot offer as much. They cannot offer the escalators, and they cannot offer the 5th year. So everything that the Suns, we're pretty sure that everything the Suns are arguing about are the things that only the Suns can offer. So DA, the most he can get from another team is 25% of the cap, no escalators, and only up to 4 years. And at a smaller raises, I think it's 5%. The Suns can offer up to 8% raises, 5 years, and kickers for meeting milestones like All NBA, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, things like that. That's what they're arguing over. They're arguing over the things that only the Suns can offer. So yes, he will get a max eventually, but the Suns right now are arguing over how much more than what another team can offer would the Suns give them. That's really what I think. Now, if we find out later the Suns don't even want to offer what other teams can offer, and they want to wait until another team does it before they match, well, then that's BS. There is another issue to think about is if you want to keep Mikal, if you want to keep Cam Johnson, if you want to keep DA, you got Chris Paul. Yeah, okay. Eventually, in 2 years, he's less, he's less guaranteed. But you still need a starting point guard. It is going to be tough to pay all these guys. So every dollar you save is worth it. And really, a deadline's a deadline. These guys can't make a dime of these new contracts until next year. If you agree Monday night at 11 p.m. versus today at 8 a.m., there's no difference in how much money they make. They haven't lost interest or anything like that. So let's just try to wait until Monday night. I think it's a 70-30. I think it's probably even 80-20 because there's no way Ayton's going to give up money. So, and you could risk with an injury or poor play or whatever this next season that you lose a little bit of money. If the Suns are at least offering 25% with escalators, I think they'll eventually accept it. They'll eventually agree on something. So I'm thinking it's 70-30 or better, but I have no information on this. other than what you guys have seen.
I hope you're right. I would love to get a Woj bomb.
Yeah. So Mikal Bridges, he did a post practice interview yesterday where he basically says, I want to be here about 15 times. I just want to be here. And what's so funny is I saw that as juxtaposition with Eric Bledsoe tweeting, I don't want to be here 3 years ago. Mikal wasn't on the team yet. But I thought that was really interesting is the words he kept using was the exact opposite of what Bledsoe had said. So Mikal really wants to be here. What do you think are the chances that Mikal agrees to a deal by Monday night?
I think it's the same as DA, honestly. I think they're going to sign them either both together or not at all. Just because it would cause more turmoil if like one deal gets done and the other doesn't. So I think he definitely wants to be here. It's his pinned tweet too, is like, I never want to leave. So hopefully they can get something done.
I feel like there's a good chance that Mikal stays. I think it's a really good chance that Mikal stays. And I think the Suns would like to be able to announce both extensions close together. So we're not going, what about? But when you get to Monday night, I think by Monday night, Mikal's going to be wrapped up. His team, his folks want to stay. And as long as the Suns are offering something reasonable, like $95 million over 4 years plus, that's going to happen. I really think it's going to happen. So I think we're good. And I think Mikal ends up staying. And I just wonder how much the dollars are going to be. Now let's go to Landry Shamet real quick. What do you think about Landry Shamet? What are the chances there?
Zero. I don't think they're going to extend him yet. I think they're going to wait until DA and Mikal are done.
Landry is one of those you could pick off easily and just say, hey, how about doing the campaign deal? And I think Landry's going to play it out and say, let's see how this season goes. If I fit as good on your team as it feels like I'm going to be worth more money next year. So I think Landry, I'm going to say greater than zero. I think if it's just Landry Shamet and not either of Mikal or DA, oh my God, would we melt down or what?
It'd be hilarious, everybody would melt down. Also, send help. But yeah, I think he probably wants to stay here. Like he's been kind of bouncing around the league, so I'm sure he might take a little bit of a discount if he like this season he really likes it here. But yeah, it's also his first time entering free agency, so he's going to want to get paid too.
All right, man. We are done with that segment. I'm going to do our halftime Manscaped read right now. We are sponsored by Manscaped, and you guys are going to buy this product. Gosh dang it. So let me read the Manscaped right now while we warm up. We got Evin Gualberto in the green room ready to join us. We're going to do a quick baller talk section right after this, and then we're going to go right into some film analysis. Evin is just incredible. He's got some stuff queued up for us to look at on how the Suns are playing in the spring. So let me do the Manscaped read. Attention ballers, basketball is back. Ben Simmons has 76 problems this season, but you can have none with our friends over at Manscaped. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their front and backyard polished all year long. Trim with their new Lawnmower 4.0, which is included in the Performance Package 4.0, and watch the hair fade away. This is what you're going to do for us. You're going to get 20% off with free shipping if you use our code Flaming Ballers at manscaped.com. It's not raining threes, it's drizzling pubes. So I'm in love with the whole performance package. I use Manscaped. I think you should use it too. They got a really high motor, but they don't get you in trouble. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Flaming Ballers at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping. Go to manscaped.com, get your products, and come back and be nice and clean for your ladies. All right.
Incredible.
I'm not even going to ask you if you Manscaped, but there we go. It's a nice halftime show. And now we are ready for the third quarter. Guys, by the way, you should be using it and your ladies would thank you. All right. Third quarter baller talk. We have 3 hot takes from our ballers. I thought these were really good. Herbie Villafranca left something in our chat, in the comments on the YouTube channel. because we offer that to our members to have the baller takes in this third quarter. The baller talk is this time Herbie Villafranca. The Suns will win at least 63 games. What do you think of that, Zona?
I love it. I mean, it'd be great. That's also a lot of games to win. So that's a greater pace than last season. I think they did improve, and their internal development will help. But I'm not going to rule it out, but it's definitely ambitious. I like it.
63 games, man. I don't know about that. That is tough. But the Suns over-under right now is 51.5 games. Another sponsor of ours is DraftKings. Look in the lower corner. Whoops. Lower corner here. If you use this promo code, you get $100 in free bets if you just place one bet. You can bet on the over for the Suns. Everybody should be betting on the over for the Suns. 51.5 wins this year. That means they're going to go 0-10 in their extra 10 games. I don't see that happening. Has anyone seen this preseason team? This team is looking good. And they didn't play a single game with both Booker and Paul. So no, this is a good team. All right, next one, everything horror. The Suns will have the best win-loss record on the season. So last year they were second to the Utah Jazz by 1 game. What do you think of that, Zona?
That one I could see happening. I think them and Utah are going to be the top 2 in the West for sure, just because these are 2 teams that they're so familiar with each other already. They're going to have no problems like out of the gate. So to me, I think the top seed in the West would probably actually have the best record. Like the Bucks probably aren't going to take the regular season super serious, just kind of like last year. And Brooklyn obviously is going to have a bunch of moving parts with the whole Kyrie thing. So I think there's definitely, not too many teams, like especially the veteran teams, they don't take the regular season as serious as like someone like a younger team like Phoenix will. So it's something I could definitely see happening.
Yeah. See, the thing is, Chris Paul doesn't let any quarters go. He doesn't let any.
He wants to win every
go.
game. So
the Suns are going to want to win every game. They have young guys hungry for wins and to prove themselves, and they've got Chris Paul. So I don't think there's any chance. All right, last big hot take. This is from Blaze Megatron. Blaze, I see you in the chat, so we're gonna hit you up right now. I'm gonna read this, and then you're gonna have to defend yourself in the comments. This might be magma hot, but the Suns will trade Chris Paul for Kyrie Irving.
Wow. Okay. he's not messing around.
Wow. There's a little bit of hype a few seasons back when Brian Windhorst put forth the idea of Eric Bledsoe and Josh Jackson for Kyrie for a 1-year rental. So what do you think? Is there fire in that smoke? What do you think? Kyrie for Chris Paul?
If you're playing 2K and starting like a My GM type thing, it could be something you look into. But in real life, I just don't see that happening. It's interesting. Like from a purely basketball perspective, Kyrie would be an awesome fit. But with all the stuff going on, I just can't see the Suns front office taking a swing like that, especially now that they finally have stability and there's no, crazy stories coming out or like turmoil or whatever. So I just don't see them putting themselves in that position, but it's interesting.
If the over under was 0.5%, I'd be betting the under on that.
Yeah.
No
Same.
effing way. But you know what? I think that's a good question to ask Evin. We have a guest on today. He is going to talk in detail about the Suns with us. And but to start that, but before we get him started on breaking down the Suns, I'd like to get YouTuber Evin Gualberto on, and I'd like to have you tell us. Well, first of all, hi, thank you for joining the show. Oh, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
There we go.
Hey, all right. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate you guys having me.
What do you think? Should the Suns trade Chris Paul for Kyrie Irving?
So I was, I was muted and backstage, as it were, and I just that was a facepalm moment, I think. So I'll just leave it at that.
Blaze is a huge Suns fan. He's actually just trying to have some fun, I'm pretty sure, in here. It was a total tongue-in-cheek. Kyrie's the last guy any team should want right now, just the way he's acting. And Chris Paul is one of the top guys you would want right now. So I think that was all just in fun. Let's get set. I want to play a quick commercial on how to get on our podcast feed while Zona, you get ready to run the segment with Evan on talking through the Suns video clips and what the Suns have shown in preseason. So give us a couple seconds. For those watching this episode on YouTube, I've got some news for you. You're only getting half the story. The Solar Panel Podcast delivers you an additional special episode every Wednesday with a national personality from places like The Ringer, The Athletic, Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, NBA.com, and everyone else. You'll hear what the non-locals think about the Suns and the NBA in general. It's a new feed, though. You've got to click some buttons. Forget the old one. Get the new one. Go to your favorite pod app, search for Solar Panel Podcast with the orange logo. While you're there, subscribe, rate, and review. And if you leave me a 5-star review, I'll give you props on the air. All right, folks. All right. So welcome to the show, Evan. And I'll let you take it away, Zona.
Yeah, so I was excited to have Evin on the show. For those of you that don't know him, he's one of the smartest basketball minds out there, in my opinion. Has a background in coaching. He hosts the Bouncing Around and the Step Through on his YouTube channel. Does great work over there. So go check it out. We can link that in the description. But yeah, how you doing, Evan? Good to have you on.
Excited, man. Excited. When you guys told me I could have some film on, I just, I lost my mind. So,
yeah. So I'll be your Vanna White, guys. You, Evan, you tell me what you want to show and when, and you and Zona just kind of go after it.
Cool.
Sounds good. So Evan, what just from afar, like, what are your general takeaways, things you like about the Suns and their system? Just, it's always cool to ask people that are not as plugged in, that just kind of watch from afar.
Well, I mean, I think I've always had a fandom for the Suns. I went deep into my closet to find this one, but I mean, the last time the Suns were in the playoffs,
awesome.
They made a deep playoff run, right? So, I mean, I've been watching since. I mean, you always have to watch Devin Booker, right? He's fun. He's exciting. So, I did a deep dive on Devin Booker, especially in the bubble. I saw there were some sets that they were starting to run there that Monty, to his credit, has continued to flesh out and evolve. And it's just we're in, I don't know, year 3. Is that right? And there's so many more wrinkles, and he just keeps adding to it. It seems like. I guess, do you guys want to start with Landry Shamet? Because I heard your last segment, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, which one is Landry? Horns out?
Yeah, it should be the very first one I sent.
Yes. All right. So, sorry, this is the first time I'm doing it quite this way, so I think we've.
Yeah, Suns fans love Shamet. It's nice to finally have someone that can come in for Booker and kind of fill that role, which we're going to dive into here in a second.
Right, yeah, and so
right.
Okay, so I mean, we can.
Is this the one?
It's
not the one.
No, that's this is the Mikhail one, but we can start wherever you have the clips. I'm just happy to break down film,
Okay, well, let's go ahead and start with this one. So sorry about
Sure.
that. I didn't get with you before this on what they were named. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. So, I mean, with Mikhail also, too, it's I think the most interesting thing is, you guys pointed this out to me in our group chat prepping for this, is that they seem to be running more sets that were exclusively for Book, or even Chris, for Mikhail, right? And so this one, if you want to let it run, I'll talk through terms, but sure. The one big set they have is Horns Out, which is basically this right here. If you can pause it, it's when one guy sets a screen for the other to pop out at the elbow. And so you saw that all throughout the regular season, the playoffs, the finals especially. It's I don't know. It's an interesting starting point, because it's, every team does the horn set. And this is Chin, where it's a back screen and a ball screen. And then Mikhail can get downhill in a pick and roll, while Jay Crowder sets an exit screen for Chris Paul there. So you look at all these options and all this spacing, and you've involved 4 guys on the floor. The one guy in the weak side, that's already there. I think my biggest thing is, if you can force feed Mikhail some on-ball reps during the regular season, not to say that like he's gonna go off for 25 a game for you, but like the more you give him these reps, the more you challenge him to attack on ball, whether it's like beating teams with his pull up or like getting all the way downhill. I mean, that's gonna do you wonders in the playoffs, right? So yeah, I just wanted to highlight this. Probably my favorite set, like the most wrinkles I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely need someone too that can, kind of release that pressure from Booker for creating all the time. So I think they're seeing that. They saw that in the Buck series. They need someone else that can, score in the half court. So getting Mikal these reps is huge.
So I'm looking at this here, and Landry's in this lower corner. Book, I think, shot over 50% on catch and shoot corner threes this past year. When was the last time we saw Book actually spend some time in the corner waiting for a shot? I mean, wouldn't that be nice to give him a little bit of a break and let Mikal go off screens sometimes and do this? Mikal was funny in his post practice interview yesterday. He mentioned that it's exhausting running through all those guys and over through all those screens and everything and getting open and doing Book's role. And he can't imagine playing as much defense as he does and doing all this on offense the entire game. It's just exhausting. So he wants to give more props to Book than he ever thought he needed to. But I think it would be fun to have Mikal be a change of pace, because who's defending who? Okay, we got an easier defender on Mikal right now. In the pick and roll on that side, because their best defender is on Devin, thinking he's going to be in the action. You give it to Mikal instead. I think that's a great counter for this season.
Yeah, and I think too, as whichever clip you want to go to next, we can talk through it. But that's the value of a Landry Shamet, who I thought, like, immediately when they signed him, I mean, I was in the camp of, I don't know about Landry Shamet, I don't really. And then I went through a whole bunch of Brooklyn film, because like I have a bunch of videos coming out on their players and their plays, and it's just like, as I was cutting stuff up, I found more and more sets that they would run with Landry Shamet as like the secondary attacker or the trigger man. And it's just like, oh, well, here's as great place to start as any. So Chicago action, right? It's a dribble. It's a down screen into a dribble handoff. So what you're going to see is Jay Crowder, set this dribble handoff for Landry Shamet, and normally to Devin Booker in this role, right? And I understand it's still preseason, but like, just the ability to throw the ball into somebody and have them be able to attack, have them be a pull-up threat, a catch and shoot threat. Here, Devin Booker ran it against the Blazers, where he fakes the handoff and then attacks, and then here is if you set a good enough screen, you can get guys open, and then Chris Paul is going to make everything out of just a sliver of space. And then if you can pause it right here, so it's just Devin Booker. It doesn't even have to be Mikal, right? It's Landry Shamet can now take some of these on-ball reps. And I'm not necessarily saying that you should run the offense through Landry Shamet or Mikal Bridges, but like the ability to your point, just have Devin Booker be a threat off ball. Devin Booker, I think, is also a rock solid cutter. If he can navigate space and, as soon as the defense bends just a little too much, he can flash in, or he can keep the defense honest and keep help away from the rim. Because, if he's shooting whatever he's shooting on catch and shoot threes, they're not going to leave him. So just the ability to have these like secondary playmakers take some of the super heavy load away from Devin Booker or, an aging Chris Paul, it's going to do them both wonders the later we go into the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Any adding these wrinkles is just going to, and look, it's JaVale McGee this time, and see how hard he dives to the rim and taking defenders with him. Chris Paul here just waiting and seeing what's going to, what's going to be open. It's just amazing. And having someone like Chris Paul actually running it. Why do they call it Chicago before we go on to the next? Why do they call it Chicago?
I really don't. I've been coaching for a while now. I can't tell you where these names come from. I can tell you that I think somebody tries to name these things, and if they stick, they stick. If they don't, they don't. I'm pretty sure that the reason Miami is, which is the invert, it's a dribble handoff into a ball screen. Probably
They
the
were the first to do it.
yeah. I don't even know if it's like in
I
the
think
NBA. It
Spain,
might just be
the Spain
college.
national team was the first to do Spain,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
if it's a place or a team, then that's likely it, where it came from. So it must have been the Bulls being the first ones to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to go into this one now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here, Devin Booker in this, Spain pick and roll action. We saw it all throughout the playoffs, the finals. Ball screen, back screen. The wrinkle is like they have. I actually did a Spain pick and roll like full breakdown how teams defended, what the different wrinkles are. So yeah, you can put Shamit in that action. Here, we'll let it run through. But like, if you want to, oh, this is the first play actually. If you want to rewind it to just the Shamit one, so like.
Just go back a little bit.
Yeah, just go back just a little bit. Okay, so here it's your, horns out, and then like that 3-person action right there. You could have Landry or Devin coming off in this Landry spot right here, and you could have Mikhail all the way in the corner in that Jay Crowder spot, or you can have Jay. That's fine too. But you can have Devin Booker or Chris Paul operating here, and now you have Landry isn't like the answer to all of your problems offensively, right? And defensively, he certainly, I mean, he competes, but he poses certain issues there also. But the ability to just have different guys you can put in these different spots. Now it's not just campaign Devin Booker, Chris Paul handling the ball coming off a pick and roll. Now you can put these other guys. And Landry, Mikhail, Devin, like they're all great off ball or, good to great. And so you don't have to rely on necessarily a Jay Crowder or a Cam Johnson who, like, I love Cam Johnson, but you don't want them to be overstretched in their role. If they can give you production offensively, like, as coaches, like I call it found money, right? It's great when you find it. It's great when you have it, but you're not relying on it. So I think, this is more fun. If you want to load up, I think any of the other videos, they're both Mikhail centric.
Sure. All right, let's get rid of this sucker. And
okay, so
we already, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so here horns out, right? Running it more for Mikhail, like getting him these reps. It's just you can run these different wrinkles here, a horns out Chicago type of set, right? Where you can get downhill. Like I said, force feeding him and making him like be the decision maker, the creator, is ultimately something I think that will serve him well, even if you don't give him those reps come playoffs, because now you're looking at attacking the defense from a different perspective, right? Now, if you see what Devin is seeing from the spots he normally attacks from, now you can better
see. That's definitely the Devin action right there. Sorry to interrupt you, but we've been watching that exact action for a couple of years now. Da hitting that screen right there, opening up Devin for coming across the middle. They've been hitting that. So the fact that Mikhail can effectively get into that is just incredible, because you can just see what the defense is going to be doing on a play coming down, and you can switch that just live. Like you guys are all, as you're going down, you see, okay, where are their defenders setting up? Where's AD going to be? Okay, which one's going to be more open?
Yeah, exactly. And the value of running it from this spot is like, I'm not saying he's gonna do it necessarily, but let's say a situation happens where Mikhail ends up with the ball and he's bringing the ball down, and they don't want to wait and have him hand the ball off to a guard so they can like go into their spots. You can have Devin and JaVale or Aiden or either of the camps start in that elbow spot with DA setting that screen, and then you could have him shake loose, and now the reads. And like the more you know the offense from different spots, the more you're going to be able to find gaps you can exploit.
Yeah, and that helps with pace too, which I think is important because this team was like bottom 5 in the league last year at pace, and one of their big things in the preseason they kind of harped on was improving that. I think they're top 7 in the preseason. So if you can get in your sets quicker, that helps with the pace as well.
That is really interesting because a couple of years ago, the Suns were actually the slowest in the league in the preseason in pace because they were trying to make sure they knew what they were doing on every play.
Yep.
Now you're a couple of years in, your second year with Chris Paul, top 5 in pace front of Chris Paul. I mean, Chris Paul played 3 of the 4 games, 20 plus minutes. Okay. Question is, what is horns out when you say horns out?
Oh,
Evan?
So horns out is that little elbow action right there. The simplest way, like I remember it, is you're in the horn set, right, with just 2 guys on the elbows. One guy screens for the other to come out, which is, normally you see a curl, but like in the playoffs when things get tighter, DA sets a screen for Book to come out to behind the 3-point line. So horns out.
And another question I'm sure some Suns fans might want to know is like, what is a Spain pick and roll? If you could explain that for them.
Sure.
Because the Suns use it a lot. Monty uses a lot of wrinkles with it.
Oh, yeah.
So
a Spain pick and roll or a stack pick and roll. So if you guys ever see like this action, it means that stack pick and roll is coming. It's a ball screen, normally above the perimeter, right, or above the break, and then somebody setting a back screen. There's so many. The Suns and Luka Doncic's Mavs. Well, it's a different offense going to be this year, but the Suns and the Mavs were the team that like I had like 80 different plays of Spain pick and roll, and you can find multiple YouTube videos and articles like explaining what exactly the Spain pick and roll is and the many different wrinkles. But it's basically a 3-person action where you take it's normally a small. So if you imagine Devin, Chris, and DA, Chris gets a ball screen from Aiden, and then Devin Booker is somewhere like in the paint. He's eventually going to set a back screen on Aiden's man. Or if they switch, he'll set a back screen that way. Sometimes they, have that wrinkle where...
What is that for? That's to free DA on a roll?
Normally, yeah. So it's if you run it, like I've seen it run at the high school level, that back screen is a great way to pick on teams that don't communicate as well. But in the NBA, it's more used to, if you don't stop the roll, then DA is getting a lob. If you do stop the roll and Devin sets a good enough screen, then suddenly whoever's guarding him is a step behind, and he can get behind the 3-point line and launch. And, if you take away all the good options, the ball is still in Chris Paul's hands. And,
right. And that's when he walks into his 14-footer.
Exactly.
It's basically a pick your poison. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
And you have to have the personnel to run it too, which the Suns do. Like, you could run Spain pick and rolls all you want, but if you don't have the right people running it, it probably won't be as effective. Teams like the Suns and the Mavs with Luka, they can run it effectively because they know they can make adjustments on the fly.
Oh, yeah. So here I just have just a bunch of Mikal actions. Here, Chicago action, which I've already talked about before, getting him downhill. Here, if you want to pause it,
yep.
Like it was 1999, some floppy action where it's these 4 players are basically underneath the free throw line, below the free throw line, and the 2 wings or guards are popping out to behind the 3-point line in opposite directions, and you have the 2 bigs screening for them. I haven't seen the Suns run. I didn't see the Suns run this very much last season, but I mean, it's fun. It's an old school set, and just imagine here you have Mikal coming off and then Landry on the other side. But just imagine if that's Devin and Landry, right? And then here just a double stagger, and then the beauty of the Suns is, thank you for pausing right there. The beauty of the Suns is as soon as Mikal gets this ball, JaVale is rolling, and then Landry is shaking up. Shaking is just like, you're lifting from
coming
the weak
out.
side.
Yeah, he's just lifting. Yeah, and so if Mikal couldn't get the shot off, he's got Landry wide open.
Exactly. And like just imagine like I continue to say, just imagine any of the wings running this from any of the spots. Like it's going to be killer stuff.
Yeah, and it's important to get Mikal and Landry involved, I think, in the offense, because you don't want them just standing in the corner feeling like they're not a part of the offense, I think, especially from a confidence perspective.
Oh, yeah. And then this is exactly what I'm talking about. You have Mikal or Devin in this spot, right? And you have Landry attacking downhill. And if you just let it play, I mean, you'll see what happens is just, you see the back of your defender's jersey, all that open space, you just go.
Mikal just has a nice little
his
cut.
cutting is insane.
Yeah.
It's bananas.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, those are all the clips that I brought, but, like, I think they were good enough to...
Yeah, they're good. They're good enough to show us how the Suns are running these actions. And it just points out what a great acquisition, what two great acquisitions Landry Shamet and JaVale McGee were, because JaVale can do the DA things that Dario couldn't do last year. Dario is a good player in his own right, Dario Saric, but he doesn't do the same things that DA could do, setting screens and in those actions. And you can just get there's so many options you have off of those actions that you can just get DA and JaVale just taking turns into there, being that big guy who sets those screens and does the rolls and then you've got, like you said, you got Landry, you've got Mikal. Now you got Cam Johnson. We didn't even look at Cam Johnson very closely, but Cam's doing a lot of those things too. Not quite as many as Mikal this year, but that's just it's a gradual step up. And then of course you got Devin back. So it's going to be fun to watch this team this year, and it's going to be hell to try to defend this team this year.
Yeah, especially now they have chemistry and a little bit of time to get those sets under their belts. I feel like they've been able to experiment a little bit more, whereas last season they started 8-8. They're still trying to figure everything out, and everyone was pretty much trying not to piss Chris Paul off. So I think now that they're a little more comfortable, it's going to be easier to throw in even more wrinkles than they already had, which is going to make them, like Dave said, just really tough to guard.
Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway here is like the continuity is, you have Monty and Devin and Dia and all of those guys in the bubble, and you see them running, like I said in the beginning, like some base sets, stuff like that. And then this next year you add in Chris Paul and his ability to improv and make stuff happen and pick apart your mistakes. And now, I mean, I think you saw it in the playoffs too, where they would decoy some sets. They would act like they're going in Spain, and then they wouldn't. And then Devin would just stay there, and then the defense is like, oh, what do we do now? Right? And
we saw the one, right, where you just earlier on one of the clips, Devin just walked right through the handoff that Landry had done in another case, or Mikal had done at another point in the game. And Devin's like, oh, well, okay, if you're expecting me to do this, I'll just keep the ball and take a nice wide open shot.
Exactly.
It's just amazing. Amazing. Yeah. So what would you think, Evin? We got a comment in the chat. If the Suns made a trade for Thad Young, for the broken knee of Dario Saric and Jalen Smith off the end of the bench, if Thad Young was added to this, what have you seen from Thad? How would he fit into the team, or would they have to change their plans?
Well, I love Thaddeus Young. I've every single stop he's been at. I have a bunch of family that are Bulls fans. That's where that's where I went to college actually too. So Thad is such a good playmaker from where he's at. You could sort of invert those actions. I think if you lose a little bit of that wing depth and pop, because Cam Johnson. He's got that burst, he's got that explosiveness, and Thad does not. You're trading one old guy, right, for an actual old guy. But I think Thad's playmaking from the big spot, the 5, the 4, that'd be dynamite to see with the Suns team. I think.
So right now, all the playmaking is coming from the guards. It's going to come from whoever's the initial ball handler. But what Thad Young can bring you is that high post playmaking. You do that dribble, you do the handoff or whatever you give to the big, and the big can actually make more plays than currently they're expecting DA or JaVale to do. JaVale had some nice passes in the preseason, but I'm not sure if they were part of the offense or if that was just JaVale doing JaVale things.
He was looking like Jokic out there. It was great to see.
but I'm not sure Monty knew that was coming. That's all. That's what I'm saying. JaVale being JaVale.
Yeah. So I mean,
Super talented.
yeah. So I think like just my coaching brain just like going off is you have that horns out set, right? Where instead of Aiden, you have Thad, and then instead of a wing, you have like Devin bringing it down, and then let's say you have Campaign or Chris Paul set that screen for Thad, and then you have him pop out, and now you have all this playmaking where all these wings are cutting, right? And Thad has the ball, and he has he has free reign to which pass he's gonna throw.
Yeah. No, it would be fun. It would look a little different, I think. Obviously, the way these plays are designed are maximizing the skill set of the current team, and that brings a different set of skills. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. If it hadn't happened by now, I doubt it's going to happen right away. I believe the Spurs at this point are probably just waiting for somebody to need Thad Young, and they're hoping for a better offer than Jalen Smith and Dara Saric. And the Suns are just like, well, yeah, it's here when you want it. We'll go ahead whenever you're ready. Give us a call. So yeah, no, I think this was a great segment. Thank you so much, Evin. We would love to have you on as a regular, not every week necessarily, but maybe every month we can do a check-in on how the Suns have done and what you're seeing out there and breaking down throughout the season. So I hope you'll come back sometime. Tell us where we can find you. Evan's got a huge YouTube channel, so tell us all about you.
Okay, so I am a high school basketball coach. It's important for me to teach and share the game, and that's basically what I do with the video podcasts, the step through for the WNBA and bouncing around for the NBA. On my YouTube channel, Evin Gualberto, it says my name is there. You just Google me, YouTube me, my channel will come up. If you'd like to reach out to me and see like some of the game threads that I try and do, that's also me on Twitter. That's just my first name and the first four. It's EVIN_GUAL. And, that's where you can reach out. You can see me do threads. But yeah, and mostly I do like player compilations, YouTube videos, try to maybe point stuff out that you might not see. And, I understand people are busy. You're not watching the whole league. So like if a player pops to me, like I'll try and do a video for them.
Yeah. Evan's great.
Yeah,
Make sure you give him a follow. Always love following people that know the game and can teach me stuff. So if you're the smartest person on your timeline, there's a problem. So go give him a follow.
That's a good way to put it. Thank you, Evin, and thank you, Zona, for getting me on to Evin. I hadn't noticed, so thank you so much. And we do hope to have you back sometime. We can break down how players are developing throughout the season. Evin, thank you so much for your time today.
Appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you letting me bring film on. Like I love doing it. So when you guys said it was,
well, I hope
okay
I was
to
an
do
okay Vanna. I'll get better as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to come on another time. Like, we'll figure the clip thing out. But you did great, and I think I would love to do this again.
All right, thank you so much. Talk to you later. All right, Zona, we are about to wrap up. We're a little over an hour. Like we always end up going over an hour. I'm never going to make that spin class I keep thinking I'm going to make. Okay, so thank you so much, Brandon, for having Evin come on today. Is there any wrap up you want to do or any final thoughts for the episode today?
The regular season's coming. We're going to have, like you said earlier, we're going to have a preview. Should be a lot of fun. I think this episode was a lot of fun, just, talking about their playbook with Evin and yeah, happy to do it. Have a little bit of a cold right now. So I was telling Dave, this is like my Jordan flu game. So
you did awesome.
Glad to get through it.
You made it so that we didn't even notice. Thank you so much, Zona. All right. You can find Zona Hoops at Zona Hoops _. There's an underscore at the end of his name, just like you can see on the screen here. But if you're listening on the podcast, that's Zona Hoops, all one word with an underscore. I'm not going to do the Espo thing where I tell you where the underscore came from. You'll just let you guys figure that out. You can find me at Dave King NBA, all one word. The NBA is there just because I put it there. And you can find Zona does a ton of writing on the draft as well as the Suns at zonahoops.com. I do a bunch of writing with a staff on brightsideofthesun.com. So if you guys are love to read, go find us at the reading corners as well. And really appreciate you guys coming. If you want to listen to this, or you are listening to this as a podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. If you're doing it on the Apple thingies, leave us a review and a rating and all that. We'd really appreciate it. On YouTube, please hit that thumbs up for the show. It really helps us on the algorithms. And also, we'll put Evan's link in the show notes as well. So thank you so much, everybody. And you guys have a great weekend.